welcome back, everybody. This is The Destiny of Your Soul with me, Angela Talent, author of Poems from a Lost Soul, and
Carl Sprudies, author of Decide Your Destiny.
That is right. And the grandparents behind you.
And yeah, I got the virtual set up. They're not really there, just in case anybody's watching and they think they can hold that pose that long. I mean, it'd be pretty incredible. Maybe I shouldn't have let them on the secret, but no, they're not really behind me just here. They're always watching over though.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, okay, now my job today, excuse my congestion, everybody. I'm just a little bit under the weather, so don't mind my voice. But we wanted to go over... Oh, go ahead.
I've got this thing that helps with congestion like crazy. Have you heard? Do you get cayenne pepper?
Cayenne pepper,
If you just put like a teaspoon of cayenne pepper in hot water, I don't know what, like that stuff just clears my chest, my nose, everything. Apparently, it's really good for your heart. And there was also ancient like healing beliefs that, like, you know, if you're trying to stop a wound, they would put cayenne pepper in the wound. Like if you're having a heart attack, they're saying that it's something just powerful for the heart. But you know, that's things that I've heard. Things that I've tried is the cayenne pepper, a teaspoon in hot water.
So just a teaspoon of cayenne pepper in hot water.
Much,
how much hot water? Like 8 ounces of hot water?
Teacup, like a teacup.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay.
Teacup. And then if you have, like, if it's too hot, like, have honey as well. But people that know me well know that I'm a fiend for cayenne pepper, because it's just like, it just, I don't know.
Zing.
It burns everything awake.
Well, heck, I'm willing to try anything, because it's like I went down, and then I thought I was getting better, and I went down again, and I was like, what the heck is going on? So
yeah. Well, let me know.
If I lose my voice, I'll have the kids take a picture of me drinking it.
Yeah, steam coming out your ears.
Right? I'll be like,
legit. That's not even a joke, folks. That's legit how you'll be.
Shoot. So okay. So I'll have them. I'll see maybe if they'll video me, because
I want to see
that'll be funny. I don't know. Maybe if I'm brave enough. I'll get a video, and I'll let you guys see it.
And that fits perfectly into, is the risk worth that reward?
Oh my gosh, it so does. But before we get into that, let's talk about what the homework for last week was. The questions that we were working on answering was, how do you think you show up for your purpose? What are you willing to get uncomfortable for? I guess that kind of fits in today too. How are you going to enjoy the discomfort? And then we had an idea to set a reminder or get a random reminder app and check in with yourself throughout the day to see if you're in alignment with your purpose. So the thing I was telling Kyle last week was, you know, if I set like a 3-hour reminder, then at 3 hours, I'm like Pavlov's dog. I will have trained myself to absolutely be doing something for my purpose at that 3-hour mark. But with the random reminder, it tricks me, because it doesn't come at the consistent times throughout the day. And then I've got to be like, oh, what am I doing? Is this in alignment with who I am? So that was kind of what we were talking about. Both of them work, really. Both of them work.
Well, yeah. And I guess the discussion we were having was like, it was based off the point that I brought up, that every few hours you're getting rusty at something, you know, whether it's like whatever you're trying to, you know, whether you're working on a book, or, you know, like you get rusty, like, you know, like you dust your house, and in a few hours later, you know, dust starts settling. So just being aware of that. And I think the point of the random reminders, you know, every 3 hours, you know, I like the idea of every 3 hours. Just a quick, like, just jolt, is because you get into these comfort zones of, hey, this is my schedule, this is my work effort, this is how much I can do, this is how much I can, and then you limit yourself. And I like one of the biggest regrets or sad things that can happen in life is you can look back and go, oh my gosh, I was doing this at this level for so long, when I could have been getting 2 or 3 other people and building a team, or I could have been getting a coach or getting like mentor, or like, you know, like you've spoken a lot about doing meditation, like, you know, like doing things in a different way. And I could have been performing at this level, or I could have been achieving things over here, here, and here, where when I was down here, there seemed like there was a roof there, you know. But the roof most of the times is us and our own comforts that we assign to ourselves.
Well, yeah, and it gets uncomfortable to push through sometimes. You know, when working with people who want to make changes, one of the things I always say is that you're going to feel awkward. It's going to feel awkward and weird because this is new behavior. And anytime that you're implementing that new behavior, it feels weird. You know, I even had a newsletter. I'm trying to remember which of my emails went out, but it was a one that I challenged a belief. I think it was gosh, I can't remember the topic right now, but I challenged a belief and I got so many unsubscribes that week. It was fascinating. I loved it
Wow.
because
Yeah.
those aren't the people I
Who's your
want to
tribe?
be talking to anyway, because the people I want to talk to are the ones that are willing to try something new, and it might be scary and it might be uncomfortable. It took me, oh man, I have a funny story. Are you open for a funny story?
Hit us up.
I can't remember if I've told it on here. I don't know if I have. Well, it actually has to do with those darn random reminders. And
Darn random reminders. How
yeah,
good's
the
that?
darn. So
'Cause-
I was challenged by Fred to for a couple of things, but one of them is what character am I playing right now? Like what role am I playing, and how am I in my life, right? And within a few hours of setting these random reminders, I caught myself a couple of times in the thought process. Like my thinking was exactly what I had been accusing other people around me of. And I was doing it in my head. And then I was accusing them of having that behavior. And I was so mad, and not mad, but I just started laughing, but before I was mad because I was sure they were doing something to hurt me, but I was doing it in my head. And how do I know I wasn't following through on that? And then they were just mirroring it back to me. I don't know. Right. But so that was a moment where it was like, yep, I'm super uncomfortable and I'm doing that. Now it's me. I see it. Yeah.
There ain't nothing like facing yourself. I'll tell you that. There ain't nothing like as rewarding, and as confronting. Like it's difficult, and we all don't want to do it. Even the people we look at, like, oh, they're the most successful people in this, or they're doing that, or they're like, how are they so strong and successful, or powerful, and like nobody really likes confronting themselves. But if you can confront yourself on a daily basis, like if you can just say, hey, I expect more from me, or I expect better from me. I've got high expectations,
Yeah.
and it's good to have high expectations of yourself. Like what
Yeah.
happens when you have low expectations? Then you'll do things that are actually like not bad for you, but can also ricochet out. And everything we do ricochets out. So if we've got high expectations, like, hey, no, every day I've got to wake up, I've got to get my mind right, I've got to get my spirit right, I've got to get my soul right, I've got to get my like everything right in my life before I then go out into the world and spread my crap around,
Well, and sometimes we can't even see our own crap, right? It's like the study they did, I think it was cats, where they didn't put in the environment, I can't remember if it was horizontal or vertical lines. And in that environment, excuse me, the cats had no experience of this. So when they came out of that environment, this box, or not a box, cylinder, maybe, I don't remember, they literally could not see it. So sometimes we literally do not see what we're doing to ourselves.
Yes. Yeah. When it's hard to see the container when you're inside the container. It's true. It's true. But it's like when we talk about, so you're not feeling well right now. Okay.
Mhm.
So like, can she pass something to me through the interweb? So we're so worried about like passing things on compared to fully protecting ourselves from the inside out and armoring ourselves the best we can. That means if I stayed up all night, went out partying, drinking, smoking, all that sort of stuff, then I'm allowing myself to be more susceptible to catch things. But if I went to bed early, I woke up, I actually exercised. Exercise has been shown to build your immunity. Had my vitamin C, had my went and got like some early morning sun. There's a great guy, doctor, neuro. I think he's a neuro. He's a doctor. I'll mention his name. Everyone will know him on YouTube. Andrew Huberman, and he talks about all these like natural things that we can do that actually like fire up like our cells and everything in our body. And one of the things is getting that sunlight into your eyes, and first thing as soon as you wake up, compared to that blue iPhone light. And so
Yeah.
But anyway, like you protect yourself, but also we're also worried about what we're spreading, or like what other people are spreading. If you're protecting yourself, like you're doing a great job. And then the other thing is like we don't worry about what crap information is being spread, what like papers we pick up at the local coffee shop that spiral us into fear and worry and stress and concern and anxiety. And all that stuff affects our immune system. All that stuff affects our health. All of that stuff compounds. Or what going to see a family member, like this whole Christmas time we're talking about, it can be a tricky time because you're seeing people that it's like, oh wow, like I was on this trajectory, and just seeing family has just like knocked me off my perch a bit, and now I'm going down. So there's so much information spread and people like spreading such mental sickness, I'd say.
Yeah.
And
Well,
and regardless whether they're mentally sane or insane or in between, it's just that they're like the doubt that they'll put into you, the negative like crap that they'll put into you. And I think like what we're talking about, I think it's really important to not just for you, it's like for ourselves. Like, and I noticed that I can see a day where I've woken up and I've put the work in the morning. And we're talking about Byron Katie, like writing like lists out, like I complain about this because of this, all those sorts of like worksheets she's got. But whether it's working out, whether it's like whatever it is for you, putting the work in the morning, you can notice the days that when you put the work in the morning, when you don't, and how you're like an attribute, and how you can also be like a deduction from your family and people around you. And that for me was kind of a shocking reality. It's like, wow, this is not just about me feeling fit, looking fit, spending a few hours on myself. Like, oh my gosh, who do I think I am to invest hours in? Like, because we all have that mental thing. It's like, no, like you need to invest in you the most amount of money needs to go invested in you so that you can impact and help the most amount of people. The most amount of energy, time, commitment needs to be invested in you so that you can go and help and impact other people.
Yeah, which it sounds selfish, right? And I think that there's got to be, I don't think a new word has been created in the English language for this, but if that we've talked about it for years. If you think about it, when you get on the airplane, who do you have to put the mask on first? Yourself. And if you don't put the mask on yourself, then you're not going to be able to help the other people around you. And so it's been there, kind of this underlying thing. But then you hear, like, I think it was Adam Grant talked about selfishness in a post that he made. And he thought it was a bad thing that I think it was he was saying, like, when people meditated that they were more selfish. And I'm wondering, I'm like, well, maybe that's not a bad thing, because when people are taking care of themselves, then they're actually better able to take care of other people. But we've gotten into this area in our society, and I think I'm a little off topic here, but I'm going to finish the thought, where we go and take, well, maybe not, I don't know, where we go take care of everyone else, so like, let's go back to your family to bring it back on topic, not your family, but the topic of the family, right? Like going around family, it's holidays, maybe you were up here, now you're down there. What does that mean? What is that? Well, now you've got to go back in and take care of yourself. Is that risk, taking that risk, that important to you? And are you willing to stand up to the family? And that's always hard. It was funny because I was talking to a couple of people before my holiday, and two of them, basically, I didn't realize I was going to have this conversation twice. I had almost verbatim the same conversation. And one person I was asking them how, because they had come from work when they came over to visit, and I was asking them questions, and I'm like, well, how do you say no? Because that was what was happening at work. And they're like, well, I just say no. I just don't do it if it's something that doesn't make sense, because it's not something I have in my control anyway. I'm like, okay. And I really pushed. I'm like, well, but how do you do that? I want to know. How do you say no? This is what I see as valuable. And they're like, really, it kind of comes down to like this feeling of F you, like, F you, no, this is what needs to happen. And I kid you not. So that was like a Friday. And on Monday, I had a conversation with someone else who said basically the same thing, different circumstances. I'm like, okay, well, how did you get to where you were cool with saying no? Because I've always been a people pleaser. They were the same thing. I had to get to a point where it didn't matter what other people were thinking. And that I knew that this was my path, this was my purpose, and I knew I had to take this risk and do this. I thought that was really interesting to learn that, because then I actually did utilize that that tool, and I said no to someone, and they didn't like it, and that was okay, because I knew it was what was right in my heart to do. Which is, I think, when we come back to, is this risk worth that reward? That really had to come into play when I was thinking about saying no. If I say no, I know that there's going to be pain and suffering, and people are going to be really upset and hurt. And if I say yes, then I'm going to go and I'm going to be miserable, or I'm going to whatever. And they were upset. And I actually just enjoyed my holiday, like, not because they were upset, but because I knew I was where I needed to be, which is really hard. It's like going to so I go to the temple. I don't know if I think I've told you this before, but and I came out of the temple, or I'm participating in the temple, and I'm realizing that sometimes we're warned against choosing between right and wrong, because sometimes, yes, going is the answer, and sometimes it's not the answer. But we have to check in with who we are, with our values, our purpose, our hearts, whatever you want to call it, our soul. And we have to figure out, is this the right step for me? Is this risk worth that reward? Because regardless, whatever step I take, there's going to be challenges.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And I guess, do we have a special poem for this week?
Yes. Hang on a second here. I'm like, I'm cracking up because I feel like I'm super talkative, even though I feel like crap.
It's good. Well, if you think about congestion, like, in, I guess, not just a physical format, it's like you're holding things in, holding things back, and you're congesting, and to heal, you need to channel things through, get things through. And
I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. For me, I don't know. My thing is, everything is just duplicable, and just there's so many universal laws, and so much of what we experience is in a multiple format. So it's okay. This is shown up physically. What have I been doing emotionally recently? What have I been doing? What have I been speaking recently? What have I been? What have my mental agreements been recently? Like it just all aligns and it connects for me. And I wrote about that in the book, where it was, in terms of blaming what happened, or like where was the source of this disease, and how did I get to this dis-ease point, and then taking okay, wait, full responsibility and going, all right, like where did I create it? If I created it, and it took stages. First, it was, doctors, surgeons giving me 8 different points of where it could have come from, then them investigating all of those and saying it didn't come from any, and then people saying, oh, it was this family member, blah, blah. And then eventually having to go, like, well, I don't like blaming any of these things. And then coming back to, okay, how could I have created this? If we create everything, if we create people that we meet in our lives, the people that we spend time with, the trajectory that we move at, if everything we've had so far has been chosen and created for us, and we have that belief, right? Or we just at least put that head on. That it's a hard thought to wear, but if we just put that on for a moment, then we can go, wow, am I just getting into a habit of suffering, or am I just getting into a habit of negativity, or having crappy people around me, and losing. And I look back at my life, I'm like, wow, I really did get into a crazy habit of just getting beaten up, and when was it that I started punching back, or started getting into a habit of going, well, actually, I want to have success, and then you get into that habit, and then suddenly things start to kind of come into your life that you're like, wow, that's pretty amazing. I didn't expect that, or that person came out of nowhere and they really surprised me, which is always nice. I think one of the biggest joys in life is when you can find someone, or someone comes into your life and you're like, wow, like you don't even know where you met that person, and they become such an asset to you. But
yeah,
anyway, that was my thing, but just sharing that. But yeah, let's hear your poem.
Yeah, so I think I'm gonna call the title of it "Finding My Dreams,"
Cool.
but I'm not sure. We'll see. If you guys have any ideas and you want to change it, just let me know. It's called. Okay, so it goes. I had all these reasons in my mind that told me I can't, won't, shouldn't take the risk to build my dream. I had to find my power, my strength. Many labeled me as crazy, risky, impulsive. I knew, though, deep in my heart that this was my path. So I strengthened my resolve to jump into the unknown instead of retreat to where it appeared safe, perhaps realizing that safe never really existed. And now I can let purpose, values, and love guide me to my dreams.
That's beautiful. That last part of it, just it's like every day you choose. Do I choose joy? Do I choose what am I choosing at the start of this day? Or am I choosing getting up and hating myself?
That was me this morning. I'm not going to deny it.
Hey, that first period is like, you're like, God damn, it's so early. Oh. But read us that poem again.
Oh yeah. And then I do want to talk. Yeah, for sure. Okay. So I had all these reasons in mind that I'm going to start over. I had all these reasons in mind that told me I can't, won't, shouldn't take the risk to build my dream. I had to find my power, my strength. Many labeled me as crazy, risky, impulsive. I knew, though, deep in my heart that this was my path. So I strengthened my resolve to jump into the unknown instead of retreat to where it appeared safe, perhaps realizing that safe never really existed. And now I can let purpose, values, and love guide me to my dreams.
Such a powerful poem. That is awesome. And for the listeners and people following on, we're creating a workbook, so you're going to be able to see these poems and do the exercises. But yeah, that's a real awesome poem. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I really wanted to talk about the part where it says instead of retreat to where it appeared safe, perhaps realizing that safe never really existed. And I think the reason I want to talk about that is because at least in my life, when I think, I get all these opinions, or I hear from other people, well, you need to do this, or you need to do that, or, and they start telling me that this path is not a viable path, or whatever it is that I'm working on. And they don't cheer me on. They just tell me where all the pitfalls are going to be, and, oh, do you really want that? And so in my life, I mean, I'm old enough that I have gone that other path, that I did follow their advice. And what I learned was there's still pitfalls and pain and suffering and misery. And in fact, I think sometimes it makes it worse, because then I felt like locked into, well, I had to do that. And if I didn't do that, then I wasn't of any value, right? And the hardest part, I think, would be is that then I also didn't believe I had value, because I wasn't following that deeper call within myself, that I knew I needed to be doing this over here, but this was, quote unquote, the right thing to do, that maybe wasn't supposed to be as risky, and it still turned out to be risky, right? Because I crashed and burned anyway, like.
It's that, and I guess, like I said it earlier, but universal laws. It's like you can delay, your purpose. You can delay those things. You can listen to other people. You can try and get in the way, but that's just going to cause more pain. It's
Yeah, on top of the pain that you're already feeling.
Yeah, if
You
you've got a
think you're gonna
calling,
get their you think you're gonna get their love or whatever. No, but go on. If you've got a calling.
yeah. Well, if you've got a calling, and if you're ignoring your calling, I've got a poem now. No, if you got a calling and you're
No, go for it. I want to hear your poem now.
No. No worries. No, but yeah. So also for anybody tuning in, the purpose of, I think we're up to episode 11, aren't we?
We're in chapter 12 right now.
Chapter 12. Sorry.
Yeah, chapter 12.
11 was last week.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, so we're over the halfway mark, and we're heading to a new year. So it's December 30th at the moment, and we've come together.
For you. For me, it's the 29th.
Oh, that's right.
I was like, wait a second. It's okay.
And
I'm a little
it's
punchy.
It's a couple of days away from the new year. So like I think, funnily enough, some of these episodes have kind of lined up perfectly to the time. The one before Christmas and family, like a week before that. And so basically what we're doing is we're combining each chapter of the book that I wrote, Decide Your Destiny, 22 chapters. So we're doing 22 episodes, and also the book that Angela wrote, Poems from a Lost Soul. And Angela, it's really like that poem that we just got there. She's writing a poem for each episode, which is really, really cool. Keeping it exciting. And then we're just kind of digging into the main topics, so like maybe the headline of each chapter and some of the content and some of the exercises that was in that chapter, and working through that. But I think in 23 coming up, I don't know, like in terms of predictions or what predictions you have, I think there's probably going to be a ton of probably ugly headlines in this new year, which I guess there always is. I think there's going to be lots of like investigations, lots of uncovering, lots of truth coming to light, and maybe reparations and things like that from the past few years. I think there's going to be a lot of financial stress. I think the US just signed a $45 billion bill through Congress. I think there's just been a lot of money swishing around and being printed and just being spread. So I think next year is going to be an interesting year, and not to bring doom and gloom and worry, but just to just to have that preparation, I think it's becoming even more important to choose your tribe, choose the people you can trust, choose the people that you can, like that whole old adage thing that my grandparents had it, where it's like, okay, we can pretty much trust our government to do the right thing. We can trust them to give money to the right people. We can trust them to invest in the right things to strengthen our country. We can trust them to do, make sure, like you said, put the mask on ourselves, like the oxygen mask, in the plane, like look after our country first, then be able to go out and try and help other people. And like from their era, that they had those beliefs, and they kind of trusted, and so I think coming up in the next year, we're going to have to really look at our tribe. Who are the people around us? Who are our network? Because we can listen to people on the TV, people on podiums, people on nightly shows, but how much effect are they having in your life? And look, they could have a ton of effect if they're making you fearful, if they're making you depressed, if they're making you angry and upset, and you're actually allowing all of that to come into your life, then they can mess your life up a bit. But all these gifts that they bestow and they say they're going to help you out with, I remember when I was a teenager, I used to turn the news on and I'd hear like, there's going to be a miracle cure, there's a miracle cure, there's a miracle cure. Every night there was a miracle cure. There was a massive accident. There was a terror, something to fear, and it was just that kind of pattern of information, and we've spoken about it before. Like the highs and the lows and the ups and the downs you get in a short segment, and why that kind of forms an addictive, addictive tendency to that information, wanting to come back again at 6 p.m. tomorrow night just to see it again, because it's just giving me so much. It's like a movie. It's just like a short movie. It's giving me so much.
Shot of dopamine.
Yeah, it's hitting me all over the place. I'm like, God, my mundane 9 to 5 day in the cubicle didn't do any of that for me, but this 6 p.m. nightly segment did, and it gave me a bit of sports to twinkle my toes afterwards.
Well,
so
yeah, I think in some ways like that's where they feel, that might be a place where people, they actually feel alive because they didn't follow that purpose, or that they didn't take that risk to do what they felt they needed to do.
Yep. And if you want to feel alive, like, and what I'm probably saying is like getting around to it is, the start of this year, the start of 2023 is just around the corner. Like, have that focused effort on, surrounding yourself with a tribe of people that will support you, like watching shows like this and other shows like that are positive and inspiring and trying to help you through your journey.
Well, yeah, and really get to know them, right?
Yeah.
Like, we put out that you can email us directly. You can, please email us directly, thedestinyofyoursoul@gmail.com. Ask questions, participate. One of the
Comment,
things,
message, we will answer.
yeah, and a lot of times people in loneliness, there's what I would call the loneliness lie, right? So that might be a place where you might need to take a risk to talk to other people. And yes, it can be scary, but as you start reaching out and connecting with these other people, then you will get that reward and you will find your tribe.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, find your tribe of people that will support you, that will help you, and like, yes, we all care about, like a lot of us care about global situations and how we can help beyond our shores, and all those things. But it's such a true thing. Like, you need to help yourself first. You need to sort yourself out. You need to look after yourself. If you're going out into the world and you're a mess and you're not looking after yourself, and you're the nurse that someone is coming in bleeding to see, and you're like, you didn't take care of yourself, before your shift, like, and you're moping about and you're kind of like in a head space and not really there and not really present, like, you're not going to be able to help that person. So your
100.
role in life was to have that job to help and serve people, and you're not going to be able to help people if you don't first help yourself. So this year, and going forward for humanity, I think it's really important that we have that individual expression of deciding our destiny, of becoming the authority of our own lives, of not being, like a cog in the wheel, and actually going out and well, how can I create better finances, better health, better marriage, better whatever it is, a better life for myself? How can I create that for myself? And then how can I impact my community? Because I know there's something more. And I think that's what, I think where people that have a lot get that, depression and loneliness. And it was interesting. I've got a friend over in Sydney, and he would do, we'd go and visit the homeless, and go help out, and also just people that were at home, injured, all these different sort of, in this legal battle, we'd go and help people. And he would, and I would tag along. I luckily had enough had a mentor that could do that. And he was telling me about in Sydney they do this, at Luna Park they do this millionaire sleep out, where all these millionaires get together and they sleep on the ground for a night or two to experience what it's like to be homeless, and they raise a whole bunch of money. And yeah, pretty powerful. And then so. But what he was saying is that he does a lot of home visits for multimillionaires. And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, some of them are so lonely. Like their family just comes to them for money because the family's lazy, or they just haven't gotten their own finances sorted, or they haven't taken his advice, or whatever it is. So they just come to him for money. And all his friends and family end up people that just want to take things from him, and there's no exchange. And so they isolate themselves. And I think a big part of why we're here, and where people get swayed, and where a political leader can get in and say, I'll do this, I'll do that, come with me here, grab your pitchforks over there, let's attack these people, they're terrible people. Where people get so swept up and can follow, and the atrocities we've seen in history, they can follow like a leader, is because there's that spiritual thing, that thing that's deep and innate within us, where we want to go out and help and have an impact and an influence. And it's such a good thing, but we really have to look after ourselves first, take care of ourselves first, then we can have an impact and an influence. And people that have made a lot and become successful and are happy are people that are having that positive impact and influence on their community. So you're going to want to go out in 2023, you're going to read headlines, you're going to hear information, you're going to see developments, and you're going to want to go out and help people. And you should help as many as you can, but you have to help yourself as much as you can. And you really have to think about this concept of investing the most amount of money, time, energy, commitment, love, appreciation into yourself. Now, it doesn't mean that I sit at home for 12 hours a day and pat my arm like I'm a cat and just it doesn't mean that. It means I get up and I go, okay, these are the commitments that I made to my family. These are commitments that I made to humanity. These are the commitments I made to the people that I serve in my business, in whatever. And I'm going to go and do those commitments. And I'm going to try and get up an hour early just to work out, just to meditate, just to do whatever, so I can get myself sorted so that I can go and serve. And I want to spend the majority of my day serving, but in order to serve at a high quality, I need to take care of myself at a high quality, and so and I need to take care of my spirituality. And sometimes I need to go away for a retreat and just work through the junk that I've been indoctrinated with my whole life, or the trauma or whatever. I need to go away for a little while and a lot of successful people go and they have these retreats. They go away for a week or a fortnight, or and successful in many areas. Successful in giving back, in community, in networking, in finances, in health, in wellness, all these areas. They go and they spend that committed time of going, hey, I know I'm not perfect. I know there's some printed information, trauma, challenges deep within me that I feel like I've resolved up top, but maybe I just need to keep just clearing, cutting away, kind of burning. In Australia, the local culture, the Aboriginals what they would do is they'd burn back, right? So they would burn forage to basically make sure that it doesn't build up enough fuel that it like burns the whole country down. And one of the big criticisms of the bushfires Australia had in 2019 was that like the obviously the Aboriginal cultures aren't as widespread all over Australia anymore because the Europeans came and colonized. So in light of that, like the Australians or like we weren't burning back as much, and we let this kind of natural fuel just collect and collect and collect. And so then once the match lit, the whole country lit on fire, and we don't know how this is happening. What's to blame? A lot of people were saying, well, we weren't doing the job that the people that were here before who had this land were doing. They were burning back. Their cultures, they would move, they would migrate often, like lots of indigenous cultures. But if you look at that, they would continually burn back in order to survive. So if you think about that, like in yourself, like yes, it's risky to go deep into the layers of your pain. It's risky to confront yourself. It's risky to spend minutes and time and hours working on yourself. But I would argue that it's worth it, and burning back that crap that we carry is worth it, because then we don't have to carry that into the next meeting. We don't have to carry that into the next rejection. There's a quote that I love that Les Brown said. He said, "I used to cheer when I got a no because I knew there was one no closer to a yes." And to be able to have that mindset, that mentality, that vitality, I think you have to burn back a lot of the crap that has become apparent in your life.
Yeah, and it's just taking a look at, sometimes it's taking a look, and other times it's like a surprise when something comes up. But a couple of things that you were talking about, going out and doing service, taking care of yourself and doing service. And I had talked about earlier, like, talking to someone, to finding your tribe, we were really talking about that. And I think that's really important. Sometimes taking care of me is finding a way to serve. I may call a friend, or you could even look at it this way. I'm going to shift gears on this. I'm going to change. I'm going to give a story.
It's sixth gear.
I'm trying. But you could, let's say you are making some feel good cookies and you realize, oh crap, I'm out of sugar. Well, you can go to your neighbor and ask them for sugar, and it's also giving them a gift, because now they get to feel good about giving you sugar, and you get to have a conversation, and you get to know your neighbor, right? So those little things, like where it's maybe, yes, I'm taking care of myself, which allows me to do this. Maybe I need those chocolate chip cookies because I'm, I don't know. I don't really make cookies, but it's a good story.
Protein in them. Be sweet.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, we'll put protein. But also, like you were talking about, serving the homeless, right? And I'm going to go off on a little tangent if you're okay with that. Just a tiny one.
Just a tiny tangent.
It's just a tiny tangent, because I really wanted to say how beautiful that was, that I love that, because I'm thinking that you notice that there's not much difference between them and you. Yeah. So in my book, I do have a poem about that. It's called "To Remind Me." And it goes, "Whatever happened to the nice house I used to sleep in? What happened to the car I used to drive? What happened to the bathroom in which I cleansed myself? Why haven't I any of those great things? How did I get myself into this cardboard box I sleep in? Who took it all away from me? When did I lose it all? Where shall I go? It's only a blur what my life used to be." So I wanted to talk about this real quick, because it also is, have you ever read Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell?
No.
It's a fantastic book. I love it.
Heard of it.
It's like one of those New York bestsellers. And anyway, so at the end of the book, my takeaway from that book was, sometimes we don't know. We can do everything in our power to get the big house, to make all the money, to do that. But there's no guarantee that that's exactly what it's going to be. So then it comes down to and that's where what we're talking about today, that risk versus the reward. So while that money might be good, that big house might be good, all of that might be great and dandy. But if you're not happy when you get there, is it worth it? You know, is it worth it if you lost yourself along the way to get to the big house and the money? And because the other thing they find is like big house environments, mansion environments, people can be more lonely. So if I'm going to have a big house, I want to be like your grandparents and have all as many people stay as I can, like have them come through, support them, help them achieve their dreams, because why not? That's
Yeah.
where it feels good.
Well, I think, and to solve some of those things, or like if people are having those, and it's actually so funny. I was listening to something the other day, and because I'm kind of doing a different evolution or different trajectory in my business to try and see how I can serve more people and like online, and I was listening to this person do this video, and they're talking about how their buddy contacted them and said they're so worried about fulfillment. He said, "Oh, like, what are you worried about?" He's like, "Well, I'm worried, like, once I get like, I've set up this business and this idea, and once I get sales through, like, how am I going to fulfill like all these orders, And then his mate goes, "Okay, how many like sales have you gotten?" He's like, "Oh, I haven't sold anything yet." And he goes, "Well, like, what are you doing?" He's like, "Oh, well, I'm just so worried." And I was like, wow, in my mind, I had a similar sort of thought. I'm like, oh, and it's like you are actually saying to the universe, you're saying to yourself, you're saying to your subconscious, hey, I don't need to put the effort into to sell this or take it to market first because I'm worried about fulfillment. And it's crazy because like I look back at like whether it's the book, when I did the campaign, whether it's the photography business, whatever it is, like it was always like serve. You can use the word sell, serve, find someone you can serve, find someone who resonates, serve, and then fulfillment comes. And then all the problems of how to fulfill, the solutions, the opportunities, the collaboration, the resources, the people that I need to bring into, but now I've got money from the sales. Now I've got money, I can actually go and fulfill. Now I've got money, I can actually go get the coaching I need to work out the systems. I can, whatever it is, I can pay for the logistics, whatever it is. But it's so funny because, and I related it to what you were to the poem, because it was just, it's kind of, and like what you were saying about, all right, I'm worried about if I become a millionaire, like, and I don't be happy, or I compromise, or all those things. It's like, well, it's not just becoming a millionaire. It's not just, it's okay. I want to be wealthy. I want to have resources, whether you call it wealth or resources. I want to have enough water in my house and food and things like that so my family can survive, so I want to have enough so I can survive, and then I can help people, and I can help lots of people. And if you're worried about being lonely, it's all about like, well, I want to go together with an army towards success. I want to go together with a group elevating. I want because if I just do it on my own, and then, imagine if you're successful and every day you walk out your front door and you just see people laying on the ground everywhere, like it's going to make you feel like, I think you're no longer truly successful. It's because your community is not successful. And that's where I truly believe, like lots of successful people, or success in general, or showing off your success gets a real bad rap online. And I think it's because it really pokes something inside of people, knowing, hey, truly, I could have a lot of that if I really put it together, if I really worked it out, if I really got a team of people, like I could put it together, but I'm either unwilling, or I don't want to, or I'm afraid of the risk, right? So it really pokes people. Success really pokes people, and it rubs up the wrong way. And in Australia, we've got the tall poppy syndrome. You can just see it. It just eeks people. But if other people aren't successful around you, like I truly think that those people that do get successful, a lot of them, and I've seen it firsthand with people that I know in my life that are, millionaires, multimillionaires, like the one guy who's like, in his 60s, and he like should just be retired on a yacht, chilling, taking it easy. He's worked hard like a dog for many, many years in a certain industry. And all he does and spends every single day, Monday to Sunday, is giving back, is trying to help one young person to unlock this opportunity. and go to this distance and have that success,
Yeah.
And so I truly believe that there are a lot of people that want to do that and they get misunderstood along the way. And I think, in terms of that, like, there's two ways. If you're worried, because if I'm worried about fulfillment, then I'm not going to actually create the business,
Right.
because fulfillment is a part of the business. So if you're worrying about worrying, or if you're worrying about stress, then you're like saying, oh, well, I'm anti-life, because stress and worry is a part of life. Like you're trying to swim against the current of existence, of what is. And so for me, if you're worrying about all right, once I get a millionaire, what if I'm lonely? Then just quickly, like, do it with people, find people,
Yeah.
and give back, and make sure people around you are successful as well, and that will inspire you. And nothing inspires you like, giving back and helping people. Like me getting this book out there, the thing that inspires me the most is the messages, the personal messages. The mother who says, like, now through like, this is a great book for healing, for moms and their sons, and like different sort of aspects that people take away from it that I never could have conceived that people would have received that, because we're giving something out and we're not sure how it's going to be received. And that's the beauty of creating something, is that it can be received at a lot higher level than you could have ever perceived. But it's really important to so give back all those sorts of things. And then also, like what you said, I agree. You don't want to compromise yourself along the way. What's the point if you become prime minister or president, but you did a whole lot of dodgy deals along the way that your people on the other side of the fence are going to investigate you for and uncover and tear you down for, and then that's your legacy forever. And I do believe, I've got a strong belief that it may take 10 years, it may take 5 years, it may take 20 years, but truth does come to light, and true aspects of people come to light. And, this person over here was so like hunky-dory to get into this war in the Middle East. But now they're kind of going, oh, no, leave those people to do what they're doing to their people, and like, we won't help them anymore. It's like, well, what do you not have to gain here? So you're seeing people's character come through because of their double standards, because of they said this 10 years ago and there was an exchange that they could get out of going to that location. And now there's no longer an exchange in this country, and all it would be for actually justice, And so there's the truth will come to light, and don't compromise your way along the way, because I truly believe that you won't get away with things. Like, along the journey, if you cheat people, if you do, and look, you'll get people that are crappy people that are just gonna lie about you or hate you or say crappy things about you along the way. But if you know internally that hey, no, I show up, and when I show up, I show up, and I show up with my best foot forward. And for me, that came from my grandparents. Like, if you show up like that in life, then you don't have anything to worry about in terms of what other people say. It's your internal guiding light. So
yeah, I think trusting yourself, to getting to that point of trusting yourself to make those decisions, because like we were talking about earlier, safe doesn't really exist, which regardless, whichever path, there are going to be challenges along the way. So maybe what do you think would be some good questions for homework today?
Well, like we said, I guess for you it's a couple of days. For me, it's one day less. I'm in the future. Future's looking bright.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, it's looking good. And I think, and talking about future in the coming year, like probably the year 2020 shocked a lot of beings on this planet. And maybe now people are more nervous, where that kind of hope of that year. But maybe that nerves is good in a way. Maybe it's, hey, let me anticipate what I can do to get myself in the best position for the whole year. Not let me write my goals down and do like a week worth of going to the gym and then forget about it and eat pizza for the rest of the year. like there's that whole thing, like it's the hype of like your New Year goals, and the media gets behind it, and everybody talks about it in your family, and and it's like, well, like what happens on day 11, or what happens, like it's just a few days later, and so this period of Christmas to New Year's, this holiday season is very challenging, and I've taken it as a period of time because I'm like moving, like making a big move early February. So I've taken the period of time just to kind of peel back and just observe what I've been doing, and then kind of strategize next steps. And so, and that's extremely hard when everything around you is saying party, drink, chill out, take it easy. Carl, aren't you relaxing? You should be relaxing. You should be. And it's like, well, have you seen my goals? my goals, my visions, they ain't relaxing. Like, why are you telling me to relax here? So, well, the best was like, you just need to like chill out, like smell the roses. And it's like, I haven't been able to plant my roses in my house yet. Like I gotta get. So for me, I think I'd just say the homework would be work out like a couple maybe choose 3 big things that you're willing to risk this year to reward for your reward. And sometimes like part of that risk is giving up. Wow, do I give up drinks with the boys on Friday nights so that I can go to study class and learn a new skill? Like, do I give up my, whatever it is, like work out 3 things that you're willing to give up, 3 things that you're willing to risk for the reward, and work out the reward. And a great exercise to do, and I don't know if this is, maybe I'm giving too much homework, but great exercise is to play it out both ways. What happens if I risk my Saturday morning time for going for a jog, or I risk every morning, and I did that for a period of time where I just went every morning, 4 a.m., went for a jog, major health improvements, totally changed the diagnosis, flipped it on its head. And so what if I do that for 6 months, and that was my reward? I'm not saying it's going to be someone else's reward. That was what personally I had. So what am I willing to risk for that reward? But also maybe play it out. What happens if I don't? And for me, because you've read my book, and for me, because of the things that happened to me at 18 and my health that I got to be really aware of, the risk is intensified, meaning the motivation to go for the reward is even more intensified. So, but I still need to remind myself. It's like, hey, you can't play around with your heart here. Like you can't just go and get fat for 6 months and just chill out. And like maybe other people can do that, but like you got to be careful with what's happened to you, And so I think like you play that out. What happens if I what happens if I have a week of getting fit, and I use health and fitness purely because that's usually the number one thing that people go, this year I'm going to be rah, 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 So what happens if I go and try and be fit for a week, and then for 6 months I forget about my New Year's resolutions and they're not revolutions. And I go and get fat for 6 months, play out like, and it's afraid, but it's fearful, but it's kind of confronting it. Play out the negative side, the negative path, to see, wow, what am I willing to risk? Can I risk the time for the reward of health, or do I risk the not activity of getting healthy for getting fat? Like or getting unhealthy or not feeling well. Like that. That's got to get really, and it's a real decisive cutting point. And a new year is a great time to decide on it.
Yeah. And from my perspective, me, I always want to spread a little bit of love. So I would love to.
What are you saying? Do I just beat people up?
No. I'm because you always go down the health because it's easy. I think because it. Like, and I'm totally into emotions, so it's easy. And I read about them. I want to understand them. I want to understand them in other people. So for me, it's like that's my go-to.
Cool.
I won't deny it. So I'm thinking, if someone is sitting in that place and they're like, "Ooh, that sounds really hard. These big risks for these big rewards, and I'm afraid." Well, I would just challenge you to try something small, like saying hi to someone you haven't said hello to before. If you go in the grocery store and you look head down, like, this is risky. Look up and like try smiling at people.
True.
Like, just
Yeah.
if you can turn it
Rejection is
into
risky.
it is. Well, and if you can turn it into a game, it might be more fun. Like, hey, because whatever you choose to figure out is the thing you're going to risk, is the reward worth it? Well, every time I've ever gone into a grocery store and looked up and smiled and said hello to people, I have felt that much better. I have felt like 20 times or more better coming out of the grocery store. It makes me feel good. I enjoy that. And I used to be one of those people that looked at my feet, right, when I walked. So that's why I want to throw that out there. So whatever it is, how can you make it fun? That's what I'll put on the table. And how can you and then maybe the second one, how can you come from love? In whatever it is you're doing, how can you make it fun and how can you come from love?
I love that. And that story just reminded me of my grandmother. She would she would, like, and she's still alive, into her 90s, she would like, I would go in a grocery store, and she would say to someone, like, wow, like, you've got, you like, you packed that really well, or, like, you've got such lovely eyes, or you've got such fair hair, or, like, she would just give a compliment, like, wow, you're really good at your job, or something like that. And you see these kids, like, slouching, like, kind of packing bags, and, like, and I think maybe because she was a counselor for 60 years, maybe she could see who she was trying to influence. And then this kid would just bright, shoulders would pump back. We'd walk off, you'd look back, and they'd be like, they'd had more energy, they'd be packing it, they'd be, like, suddenly this being would come alive. And I mean, I look at it like, like she would, like, spiritually light up souls, from this to, like, this expansion. And so, yeah, I love that story that you shared. So yeah.
That's fantastic.
One kind act a day, and that kind act just ripples out. It made me feel joyous. It made her feel joyous. It made the people we were next to and that person, like, your spiritual being, just that kind of your heart, resonance that you kind of you expand out with. Your magnetic field can just expand out, and it naturally does. But we close it in.
For sure. For sure. Well, since you closed out last week, I can close us out this week. So this is Kyle Spreedes. He's author of Decide Your Destiny. He's also the custodian of the Decide Your Destiny movement. I'm Angela Talent with Poems from a Lost Soul, and this is the destiny of your soul. And we'll see you next week. Have a happy New Year.